You guys go to page 217. Let me just flip through a couple things before we move to this content, okay? So 217 is where he's starting to talk about your net of your money. And so he's gone through thinking and earning, and now you're netting. And the only difference of net is that you have your expenses in, okay? So on 218, it says implementing the models, and there's a nice summary there on 219, the issues between earning and netting. So it talks about leads, listings, leverage, money, which is just talking about a budget, and then you staying focused on the 20%, counterbalancing your life to maintain energy at a high level. So remember that part, staying focused on the 20% and counterbalancing your life to maintain your energy. So then he gets into 220, on page 220, the leads. Sustaining solid lead generation program that emphasizes marketing consistently increases the number of leads. You with me, Cindy? Are you girls?
Yeah.
On page 220, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to skip over some of this because this is not our content, but I want to just maybe review a little bit. So this is talking about how do you sustain that lead gen program. And he basically just says real professionals don't stop lead generating. On number 2, page 222, number 2, tracking and converting your leads through others. Once leads are generated, they must be followed up on and turned into appointments. They should generate a predictable number of signed buyer agreements. So it's basically saying, is your lead generation consistent and consistently giving you the leads you need? Number 3 on page 224, protecting your lead generation focus time. So this is where most of us struggle, including me. I was talking to my coach this week, and he said, you know, some people will say, well, that's not really for me. I'm more of a person that's on the go. And then one way that you work around that is have your call list with you, and you might be standing in line waiting to ship something at the post office and make a call. You might be that annoying person making a call. I made 2 calls from my car yesterday on my way somewhere where I had my list with me and their phone number and what I wanted to talk to them about. I find shut the door, spend 2 hours, nothing but lead gen, and then everything else will still get done. But you gotta be prepared for who you're gonna contact. Protect your lead gen focus time. Number 4 on page 226, weighing your options, the process of discovering what works and doesn't work for you. I really love this content because so many people think that lead generation is a dirty word. They say, what do you want me to cold call or door knock? I'm not gonna do that. And really that's not the point. The point is what kind of lead generation is the right one for you. For example, you might love open houses. Well, if you love open houses and you have found success in open houses, do those, just do them consistently and at a high level. So he says on the bottom of page 226, last paragraph, so many agents do spur of the moment idea of the month marketing prospecting. They adopt new lead generation programs, so the latest, greatest, best, most creative idea seminar, or they reinvent the program based on some can't miss, pay for itself, instant success thing they buy. And then they're often spending money, discarding previous strategies, and so on and so forth. And then they typically don't get the results they want. So on number 7, page 231, getting sellers to accept the team concept. So this is, of course, if you have a team concept and how you explain that to the clients. And conversely, if you don't have a team, getting them to buy the single agent. Like I just talked to a team and they said, I'm just going to have an army of people. And then my script might be, actually, I'm a team of 1 and here's why that matters. I'm going to give you the best service. You're going to reach 1 person. You don't have to explain yourself a million times. Like it'd be very easy, right, Cindy, to explain to someone why you're going to give them the most energy because, heck, you're my only client. No. You guys awake? Okay. Okay, getting sellers accepting concept. So that's just like kind of a little bit about your language. Consistently marketing your seller listings for more leads. So a lot of times people will place it on the market and pray it sells, and they don't realize that's a lead generation engine, every listing you get. So then on page 234, we get into leverage. Making time to learn and implement. This says recruit, train, consult, keep, process. So what this is talking about is when you're ready to hire someone. Okay, and so instead of, oh my gosh, I'm so busy, I'm going to hire somebody that's walking down the hall, we call it career visioning now. So when the book was written, Gary called it recruit, train, consult. same information, called career visioning. That's where you guys get your KPAs. And that's where there's a 2-day course that you can take that when you are ready to hire a talented person. Like, I'll give you an example. We hired here somebody on our staff a couple months ago. And so we had put her through a pretty rigorous, I don't know what that big phone is, make it a career visioning process, which is a proven system to help hire and retain your talent that you have. So this is just talking about that. Make sure you learn to recruit talent. So as you're running your business right now and you're doing your day-to-day things, do you have it in your mind to grow your profit tree? That should be something that you think about doing. How am I going to get a certain amount of people in my tree each year? Like, let's say you had a goal of 3 people each year so that you could offset your cap and have your expenses lowered. Well, that's one aspect of that. And then also, depending on how big you want your business to be, you are going to leverage yourself at some point, even if it's just to do stuff you don't like to do. Are you watching other people for talent? And I will tell you that other agents in the office, in our office, including me, leadership, everyone, we're watching for talent all the time. We're looking to see if there's a person who might join our team or somebody else's team, or if we can help them grow their own team. If you guys want admin, you come to the team leader and I get some support on that. If you're thinking about growing a team or getting on a team, all of this is in that training. So number 10, hiring capacity talent versus cul-de-sac. He's just going to talk a little bit about how you figure out if somebody is a good fit to get into business with. The capacity talent versus cul-de-sac talent graph is on 238. And guys, I'm kind of rushing through this because this isn't what we're supposed to be talking about. And yet I didn't feel that we had hit this together. If you intend to never hire more than one person, it may not be an issue. If you decide to allow your business to grow through people, you'll see the need to hire capacity talent. Let's say in our world, if you know Shelby on Jennifer, the home branch team, or if you know Mary White on the sellers team, there are certain hires that will just change their worlds. That's what you're looking for, not somebody who just knows how to enter into something into MLS. So on page 240, I don't know if that's chapter 11, achieving accountability to the right standards, what customers want. So this is a talk about your own standards in your business. As you get into like this part of the book, if you guys haven't read it, every deal you do, you'll figure out how fast you like to respond. Do you spend one day of the week calling your clients? Do you like to have the inspection immediately after the contract goes in place? How do you handle up to the option period? All of these things will be almost like your operations, and setting your standards for your operations is on this. When we have a client, we do this. When we have a contract, we do this. When we have a closing, we do this. After the closing, we do this. So the right standards sets it's not even your person you've hired or you, the standards speak for themselves. Let's say I needed 2 listings a month and that was my standard to make the goals for the business. That's the standard. Nobody's right or wrong. It's did we make those 2 listings or not? So take a look at this page 240, 241, systems documentation model of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So he's again just talking about getting your systems firmed up. Page 244. Cindy, take out a notepad and write down all the things you do as bullet points. Leave nothing out. The break lists into 6 to key 12 categories. Now each of these categories gets its own page, and your job is to copy the activities from step 1 under the appropriate category. So this is an exercise on 244 about just what systems do you need. So I used to do this and then get all of my stuff into 7 categories and then kind of brainstorm each 7 categories and then which one's going to happen now. So your accountability, different aspects of your operation manual will serve as components for the job description. It's just basically kind of, you do it now, and let's say you were going to turn it over to someone else, you're starting to document it. That's all it means. Creating teamwork. So this is a little bit about team building stuff. Page 247, group versus team. This is where you're getting into what does it mean to have a team? What does it mean to be on a team? And then we're getting into our reading for today. So combining quality service and quantity service on page 248. So basically like that last section, and I don't feel like we actually did that. Maybe it's because of the holiday, we skipped a section. But setting your standards and your operations, that's something that wherever you are in your business, just like a template email every time you have an inspection. Congratulations on your contract. You're going to do the inspection. Here's what's going to happen. That would just be a standard operating procedure that you always do, as an example. So now into this week's content, money, page 249. In this business, money is always an issue, whether you have too little or even if you have more than you expected. Your quest as a real estate business person is increase your revenue, control your costs, and at the end of the day, increase your net income. Part of the battle is become familiar and proficient with the economic model. So I asked you guys at team meeting, how familiar are you with your models? And so your budget model and your economic model. Sticking to the budget model and controlling your costs. Well, most of us will use accountants. I was telling those of you that did fill out your homework on that I gave you at the team meeting, and anyone who hasn't done it, I'm happy to walk through it with you. My question about how much you're spending on lead generation is I'll see sometimes you guys are spending disproportionate amounts of money to what you're making. So for example, say I went and bought some Zillow leads for $1,000 and I have not made any closings. I do that about for 4 months and I still don't have any closings. Now I've spent $4,000. Well, man, I had the hopes of getting a closing, right? If I got one closing that's $7,000, I would have paid for it. So this is the loop of our brain. And I've done that. Well, your budget model is very clear. You have 10% of your earnings to spend. So until you have a closing, you have zero money. And then once you have a closing, say you made $6,000, then you have $600 that you can spend. So you take that 10%, put it in your little lead gen bucket, and then you say, hey, what am I going to spend $600 on? And then I guess say you did that for a couple of closings, now you'd have $1,200. Well, I did it with one of the top producers yesterday where we walked through the exercise and I said, okay, at your current, you have, I think it was $600 a month to spend. I'm talking about $600 a month consistently because that's their sales. That's what they have in their budget. I'm not saying that they've done it or haven't or will, but they could. And then if they made their goals, so they were at mid-year, I think they could go up to about $1,200 a month on how much they could spend consistently. So what I'm saying is you might start with zero, then all of a sudden after a few sales and you're getting in some traction, you might have $100 a month to spend. It's not very much money. Then you get to where you can spend $250 a month. Now your business is starting to go. Then you reach it up and you can spend $400 a month. But you don't ever do it. It's red light, green light. So it's always based on your income, not your dreams, right? So sticking to your budget and controlling your costs. And this is true in all of our lives, right? We can't spend those commissions before they've ever materialized or you'll start to really get depressed. Like on page 252, he says, as a general rule, you should request a detailed budget for any new marketing plan, any equipment purchasing. If you're doing a staff position, like say you want to hire an assistant and they're $10 an hour and you're like, man, I could do that for 10 hours a week. Okay, $400 a month. And then I'm free to go on one more listing appointment. Yeah, you can say company dollar is coming in. It's worth that expense. It's just you got to have the consistent. You can't just lay in bed and watch, reruns of CSI because you will not be able to pay for them. Okay, so you on page 253, work harder on yourself than your job. Cindy, what does that mean? She didn't know you guys.
It means that you should.
It always.
Well,
What'd you say?
if you're working on improving yourself, then your job will just get easier, better.
Right. It comes back to us most of the time. What skills do I need to work on? What's the one thing this week that's going to move me forward? Is it when I do lead generate, what's my conversion? Do I know how to lead generate? Maybe that's what I need to know. Then when I am lead generating, am I tracking my successes on there and say I'm calling some people, just having conversations with my sphere of influence? Am I getting referrals or setting appointments, or I'm just asking about Aunt Betty and never actually even talking about real estate? So working on yourself, getting in front of other people who are at the success level you want to be, staying focused on the 20%. So this is the everything, right? Page 15, chapter 15, page 253, 254. So that graph down there, you have two choices, be focused and be unfocused. Well, this is hard to do day in, day out. You've got the phone ringing and inspections going on and a closing at 2 and all of that. The focused person on the bottom, which one do you want to be? It's you with your leads, listings, and leverage, and you're just going up and up and up towards success. How would it be to be able to take weekends and nights off, to have the income level you want? Like I had an agent, I did it with her recently, and she thought she needed to make 150,000. And then once we did some digging down on that, she realized she needed to make 180,000. So she needed to hit 6 million and not 5 million. And so we talked about getting purposeful about that. How many more phone calls is it, or how are you guys lead generating to hit the numbers in a focused way? And then your unfocused is, I don't know, I went to an open house. Oh yeah, somebody else said that there's a thing over here today, and oh, I'm going to go do that, and then I'll work on that later, right? It's just I didn't plan my day got me. That's the difference. And this really, you guys, when you see this material, Cindy, have you read The One Thing?
No.
And have you guys read The One Thing? Claire, have you read The One Thing? You will see that this is the content of The One Thing. I mean, this is where Gary, before he even ever wrote The One Thing, it's in here. And they started researching that as well. But you'll hear it referred to as your big rocks or your top 20% or your one thing. This is when we all mean the same thing when we talk about those. So on your daily to-do sheet, you've got everything. And then you figure out what your top 20% that matters is that will make you money. If you're doing something and it's not making you money, that's fine, because you have to work on things. You can't just not do them, but you've got to first work on the things that make you money and then do the other stuff. So he gives you a little figure there on 255. I recommend you kind of dog ear that. Write down your key goals, allocate time in your calendar for the action steps you need to do them. If time permits, work on the rest of it. Create a daily planner. So you guys should already be using a daily planner. That's where the idea comes from, right? If you still struggle, like when I did that exercise at team meeting, lots of people's answer for their challenge is time blocking. That's certainly my challenge. And this is the material that's just covering how do you, hey Melinda, how do you get to where you can time block? Well, it starts by putting it in a calendar. So like for me, I'll set an appointment, especially for something like lead gen, close my door, shut my blinds, sit there at the desk, I'm ready to go. And then all of a sudden I'm on Facebook or checking email. That's not staying true to my 20%, right? Because all that stuff on your mind, oh my God, I forgot to answer that email. Let me just do that real quick and then I'll get back to lead generating. No, that email will wait until 2 hours from now. No, nothing is gonna, blow up if I don't send this email. And that's where you got to get in your mind. Somebody's calling me and I have to say, nope, I'll text them back. I'll call them back in an hour. So the 3 questions that it will answer, I guess, what was the 3 questions? Let's just go back. It begins with recognizing you really only have 2 choices regarding focus, to be focused or to be unfocused. To be successful, being focused is the only way to be. One method you could use to gain focus is the goal to action percent system. So that's where he's saying the 4-step process to have the 3 questions that it will answer. What do we want? What do I want? When do I want it? What has to happen for me to have it? 4 steps to this system. So I'll tell you guys, since I've had a MAPS coach, this is a very common question. Anna, who do you need to be to hit your dreams? I'll say, well, I need to be a person who is prepared and is purposeful and is all these things. And then they'll say almost as soon as, no matter what I answer, what has to happen for you to achieve that? Well, what has to happen is I get on appointments. Then you break down how to get on the appointments, right? So it's just an easy mind exercise. And then your master task list, your 80%, that is everything else. Your goal sheet and your to-do list are 2 different things. Your daily worksheet, your business tasks, your personal tasks, your appointments, and your little notes. This is just sort of the same thing that's in your planner. It's just talking about being purposeful and thoughtful on what you want to do. Page 16, counterbalancing your life to maintain your energy at a high level. Anyone read this or read The One Thing about your energy levels? Claire, anybody? Melinda, you?
I'm sorry, not paying attention.
Oh, that's okay. So on page 259, Counterbalancing your life to maintain your energy. Basically, what this is talking about is, say you had a goal to put 10 people in your database today, or to contact 10 people, or to go to a networking event and then come home and put those people into your database. Just giving you guys some examples of something that you would be doing, right? And you know you're going to do it, and you come in and you're revved up, because in the morning you have the most energy, even if you're not a morning person, especially if you have some coffee, you sit down and think for a few minutes and you're ready to go. And about 20, 30 minutes later, hour later, you start to kind of drag. You need to get some breakfast or some lunch. Then after lunch, you might get a little bit tired from having eaten. Or for me, I get like another energy boost. So this is talking about doing your most important work when you have the energy. You know, you're sitting there at midnight when you're tired, inputting that listing. Okay, I got it mostly in the morning when I have the energy in my brain. I'll go in and kick it on and finish it up, right? So he says, like, the counterbalancing your life, this is for the whole One Thing book almost. The idea of having a balanced life is more idealistic than practical. It's healthier to accept to lead a counterbalanced life where it's not that you're out of balance, it's how long you stay there. So I love this part. Millionaire real estate agents' life can be quite dramatically balanced to imbalance. It's important to acknowledge that you can then deal with it. The ruling factor of living a counterbalanced life is to allow imbalance when the key goals are at stake, but not dwell in that state for too long. Because when you allow yourself to live in imbalance too long, you cannot maintain your energy. You risk burnout. So when you have burnout, that's when you think, I got to get out of this business. I just can't do it anymore. I'm feeling stressed out. I'm broke, like all these feelings that you might have. And you have to maintain your energy, and you have to maintain it at a high level. And so you have to, what's it going to take for me to have energy? I'm probably going to need to eat some nutritious food. I'm probably going to need to walk around or exercise at least in some form every day. Can I be my best version of myself if I just eat completely unhealthy food and never exercise and work 90 hours a week and don't even get 6 hours of sleep a night because I'm all worried? How am I going to show up with what energy? What they've proven, the one thing is that you can work a lot less time with your energy when you're kind of like in your zone than you can just working. You got to take breaks and all that. So that part of the book is really, I love it. If you read that, you'll get a good feeling for what the One Thing is about. And that's really what this part of the book is do you guys, if you go on page 262, where you get the key points here of the material. So he's talking about netting, and it's net $1 million. It's net how much money you want to make. It's the natural outcome of fulfilling the 4 fundamental business models. From our experience, there are 16 issues that must be addressed. So number 1, sustain a solid lead generation program. I find that to be the biggest gap in our businesses. Would you guys agree? Mm-hmm. A solid lead generation program. What the heck does that mean? Okay. That's the number 1 of the 16. So if you don't have that, I feel like my thing's all so if you start there, if you don't know what that means, right? That we talked about that earlier in the book. Number 2, tracking and converting your leads. So you've got to pay attention to, like, let's just say somebody called you and said, hey, I got a lead for you. Here's their name. And you say, okay, great. Thank you. Where are you putting them? I mean, I know it is your database. Claire just said over there, that's command. And so are you tracking how many leads did I get last month? I remember when I used to teach one of the classes on the websites, I'd say, hey guys, how many leads are coming into your website? And most of the times people would say none. Well, if I went networking, how many leads did I get? How many contacts did I get? How many relationships did I start? If you know, it's just kind of a knowing your numbers. I met 30 people last week and I didn't get anybody's phone number. That's just an example. So protect your lead gen focused time. Protect it. When people try to take it away from you, tell them politely, listen, can I call you back? It's only going to be an hour or so. Most people are going to say, sure you can. You have to protect yourself and your business. Weighing your options and discovering what works and doesn't work. This is where I feel sometimes agents think that all things are created equally and somebody else got a listing because they were door knocking, and so I should be able to get a listing door knocking. And yet door knocking may just make you so unhappy that you really cry afterwards. So don't do that. Find a way that fits for authentically for you. And whenever you look at your KPAs, when you look at what successes you have, like in your Ninja planner every day, it'll say what's working and what's not working. So say I decided to cold call every real estate agent in Houston and ask them if they wanted to work at Keller Williams. You know, there's somebody that might say yes, right? But it'd be a little bit of a painful exercise. And I might say, man, I don't like that at all. And then what if one of you gave me a name and said, Anna, you should call my friend. She works over at such and such real estate company. She wants to talk to you. How much better is that call, right? So if I found for me, networking was very easy. Sometimes other people say, I can't network at all. I hate that. I don't want to go. So you have to get clear on what works for you. And then also, let's say you go on I talked to a top producer about this a couple of days ago. They went on a appointment and the appointment didn't go well, and they had a reason, and it was basically a commission objection. And so instead of letting that really upset that agent, it was an opportunity to work on language and scripts, to ask better questions. Why was that commission objection important to that person? Was that really what they cared about? So always looking for your opportunities and what works for you authentically. If it does not feel authentic to you, I would challenge you to find your strengths. It's another question I asked you at team meeting Tuesday is, what is your strengths? What are your challenges? Once you know your strengths, go to those. Go do things you like to do. Getting in front of people who are your friends is so much easier than chasing people who don't want to answer the phone. So knowing the minimum number of listings that you must hit each month, do you guys know that number? Or is your number, I hope I get one, and that's all? Right? Knowing the number of listings you must hit each month. That's another part of that exercise I did with you Tuesday. Then you need to go do that. So if your minimum number is 1 or 2 each month and you're getting 0, how does that make you feel? Is that the best version of yourself? To me, it makes me do a lot of self-loathing. So what happens when I do hit the 2? Then I'm excited and happy and I'm active and I'm busy and my energy's up. So doing anything else besides getting your appointments is, in the end, seeking the short-term pain of lead generating versus the reward of hitting your goals and having the money that you want. It's like basically a shift of the same activities, just a different outcome. So this one says, get the sellers to accept the team concept. I think for you guys, if you're not on a team on the call, practicing your scripts of, I'm a single agent and here's how that works. You can say you have a transaction coordinator. You can say, just be clear on what your value proposition is another way I would say that. Why work with me? It says I'm running out of time. No, I'm not. What's this mean, higher capacity versus cul-de-sac talent?
Not sure.
So Claire is saying it's the short term versus the long term of the capacity of the employee. But if you'll read back over that part, I think if you guys have no desire to hire someone, but at some point you might say, hey man, I just wish I had somebody to input this listing, or I wish I had somebody that knew how to help me market. All those things. Are you really actually doing your diligence to find out who the person is that you're considering getting in business with? And so sticking to the model, focusing on your 20% and looking at your counter ballots. That's basically it for today, guys. Ta-da, Earl says. So I'm going to close because another class is starting, and I'll talk to you guys next week.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.